Teresa's rolling over.
It seems like I'm very
Thank
All right, it is 6:30. We will call Jobs and Economic Development Committee to order. Clerk, could you please take roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Present.
Mr. Barr?
Present.
Mr. T. Smith?
Here. All right, we do have a summary of proceedings from 2025. Looks like August 4th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Clerk, I have a first and a second to approve. Could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. T. Smith?
Yes.
All right. I have two items of new business. First item is to authorize bidding for allocation and flex grants 2025. Clerk, could you please read?
Ordinance authorizing and directing the Safety Service Director to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for bids, and enter into contract for the fiscal year 2025 CBDG grant projects and declaring an emergency.
All right. We do have Evelyn and Ken with Regional Planning here. Evelyn, my understanding is we were awarded the grants that were applied for in 2025, so I assume this is to basically go out for spec and bid?
Yep, the projects, if you might recall, are, by the way, Evelyn worked on this Regional Planning Commission. And the projects are the continuation of the Lincoln Park Trail, this part outside of the park into Fairground Street and down Leader Street. Probably be sidewalks more than trail, but we'll get there when we get the specs finalized. The two projects in the flex or downtown projects are the roof for the rec center, so that's good, and then the HVAC system for the Lincoln Ministries. So I have not set specific dates or anything yet, but this is just to authorize me to get that party started.
Okay. Questions from committee?
None.
Nothing over here.
Anything from citizens? Administration? I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we send this to council with a recommendation to approve.
I'll second that.
Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. T. Smith?
Yes.
All right. Second item is Aries Sportswear, CRA. Clerk, could you please read?
Resolution in the matter of entering into a community reinvestment area agreement with Aries Sportswear for occupying and improving a property at 645 Bellefontaine Avenue, Marion, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, once again, this comes to us from Regional Planning. This is a project by Aries Sportswear, so first item would be the title that is spelled incorrectly, so that will need to be cleaned up. So this is a desire for them to relocate 18 full-time and 20 part-time employees from Hilliard and add an additional full two-time and 10 part-time employees within 2 years for a total of 20 full-time and 30 part-time employees by December 31st of 2028. This does also come with an abatement. I do have some questions on that abatement, so whenever Regional Planning would like to come forward.
Sure. Ken Legeza, Regional Planning. We're asking this to be, not to be anything to be passed tonight, just to get your first look at it. And yeah, I've got to keep on spelling sportswear, W-A-R-E instead of W-E-A-R.
Well, actually, it's spelled Sprotswear.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and then, as the mayor pointed out, the notice to Hilliard, we had to send the notice to Hilliard, it was sent June 29th, 2026. So,
yeah, I do have a general question. So in the legislation, the body of the legislation itself, Section 1, it speaks of a 75% abatement for 12 years on the building.
Right.
Is that your understanding?
That's
So-
what I asked him to accept, and he will accept that. That's Mike Campbell, the owner of Aries Sports. He had asked for 100% for 12 years.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure that this contract isn't, because it's clearly stated on here that it's 100% abatement
That's what
for,
he was asking for.
okay.
That was the application that he asked for, filled out.
But he does understand that it's 75% then?
After I talked to him, I saw our policies to try to make sure that schools get something from each one. He had no problem with it.
Okay.
First of all, he's flying back to Columbus tonight, so he couldn't be here, but he can be here at a future meeting.
Okay.
On these, since he's relocating from Hilliard, this is similar on a bigger scale to what we had last year. We had a company,
Fastenal.
Like this situation, it's a rental facility. He's going to buy the Bell Fountain Avenue site. In fact, he's already has bought it. And it's an application that says relocate and then expand. Because we had to send a 30-day notice to Hilliard, and the law is vague as to the public body, they need 30 days before the public body deliberates. I mean, that would be probably the full city council, but to be on the safe side, we would, and I talked to the law director, we would rather have you defer any action till August 3rd.
Okay.
At the earliest, that would be the 30 days. With after 30 days, theoretically, Hilliard, if they had entered into some type of tax abatement with this company or contract, service contract, they could object on those grounds, saying, hey, wait a minute, guys, we had a situation like that, similar to years ago when AHP applied for tax abatement in Delaware for a new plant, and we found out about it and say, well, hold on a minute, we've got a clawback clause if you voluntarily leave here. And, you know, we got back $235,000 in taxes.
Gotcha.
And so that's, I mean, that's,
Yep.
that's, so in theory, you shouldn't really act until August, until it's 30 days that goes by.
Very good question from Councilman Barr.
In the CRA agreement on page 2, section 2, it lists Fastenal currently has 18 full-time.
Yeah,
I'm sure this was a template from the last one.
Yeah,
But I just wanted to make sure that that's identified and corrected. And then also, in the minutes, when we were dealing with Fastenal, there was a clause in their contract that if they pulled out before that time, because I think they were asked for 60%, they got 75% for a 10-year abatement, and if they pulled out early, they had to pay back 5 years of the abatement. Is that clause going to be in here also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I had to, when I notified Hilliard, I had to do a draft of a proposed agreement to send to them.
Okay.
It's not, so I had to do a draft real fast.
Okay. Well, you might want to change out Fastenal for
Yeah,
Aries.
so, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Questions from committee? Anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I do have one question. Is a 12-year abatement pretty typical on something like this, or is that
This
rather
many jobs,
long?
yeah, you've gone with that before. When you're moving that many jobs into town. And keep in mind, this abatement is really, I told them this abatement is not going to be worth a lot to them because there's no abatement on the existing building, no abatement on the existing land. It's just going to be as he improves the building. He said, well, I'm going to try to make some improvements, and I just don't want my taxes to jump up a lot. I said, okay. So the benefit, in fact, so far to start out with, he only has $3,000 listed, which wouldn't even, basically wouldn't even change his taxes. But he's over. This would be over 6 years what he would do to the building over 6 years. And you look at the building, it needs work. It needs some work on it.
This is the old Midwest lettering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I thought I had read in the contract here that if there weren't 20 employee or 10 employees hired by 2026, that or 28, the abatement was null and void.
It can be. It's will be up to council at that time. Every year we have a job creation tax incentive committee that meets. The county auditor is the chair, and They meet and go over all the tax abatements in the county and then make a recommendation to the city, if it's in the city, county commissioner in the county. And if they're not if they're feeling that they can make a recommendation saying, hey, that they're not meeting this, you should consider terminating it. But there's exceptions in there for economic conditions. I guess one of the best examples was the third abatement for U.S. Yachio. They were way down. They had promised to create, I can't remember, like 30 jobs, and they only had like 10. But then it was economic conditions, and they ended up like creating about 80 new ones. So I mean, you have to take into effect that you guys are in business, you understand the market and everything.
Okay.
So you're not requesting any action today?
Nope, and then in the next month, any questions you have anytime, just give me a call, and we'll get this cleaned up. I did it real fast before my vacation. So,
All right.
Thank you, sir.
okay.
All right. So this will stay on the agenda for future meetings, unless there's any other questions from committee. I will move on to matters not on the agenda. Are there any matters to come before this committee regarding jobs and economic development? Yes, come forward.
I had a question more on the abatement thing. Ralph Smith, Third Ward City Council. 75% for 12 years tax abatement. I would like to know what the figures are going to be, what amount of income that the city would lose over that 12 years as a tax abatement. And then also on income taxes for the employees, how much would we gain, and see if those offset each other or if they come out. I'd just like to see that.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Naomi Craig, 365 Silver Street. To Mr. Smith's point, Midwest lettering, I think it's been empty for at least 5 years now. And I don't see anything else going in there. And before I looked up the address, I heard sports, and that was the building that I assumed that it was. And I think we should really take a long, hard look at filling something that side of town too. We talk about that side of town a lot. 18, 20 will probably be pretty decent paying jobs, even though they'll be right between the railroad tracks.
Overtime.
I think it's something we should really, yeah, we'll need like a little, like maybe underpass, a tunnel to get there or something. But I think it's something, growing up in that area, I remember that being a pretty prosperous place to work, and I think it'd be something good for the west side.
Thank you.
Yeah, and on that, if I may, on that same note, I drove down Bell Fountain the other day, and I was just kind of, I don't go over that direction a whole lot for some odd reason, but I was heading that direction, and it looks really nice over there. There's a lot of improvements from homeowners, and just, it looks really nice on that side of town, in my opinion. And I think this will be a great thing, too. I just want to make sure the city is getting the best as well. That's why I had the questions about the abatement and stuff, so, certainly.
Any other matters to come before Jobs and Economic Development? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
Who's the legislation?
Legislation.
Might want to talk to
Sorry, we're not taking extra work.
Is this legislation votes?
Yep. Think for a second.
You need to stoke the furnace there to get your mind going. Yeah. It's still too lengthy.
No, Mark, nobody got it, so.
How you guys doing tonight?
Living.
I heard on it. You ready? It's 6:45, call the Legislation, Codes and Regulations Committee to order. Clerk, would you take roll, please?
Mr. R. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Kreider?
Here.
Mr. Clark?
Here.
We have a summary of proceedings. Has everybody had a chance to look that over?
Yes. Yeah, and there's lots of little things, little items on,
Okay.
let's see, under public comments, you have Greenwood listed as an avenue, it's a street. And then on the next page, under liquor permit name changes, it's Bucci's, not Gucci's. And then on the next page, under matters not under the agenda, Mr. Daniels at Decatur Street, we've got him mispronounced all the way through that. And then in the third paragraph, under matters not under the agenda, when Ms. Craig was speaking, it's referring to Simmons Brothers, which is Sims.
I just have, is that all for you?
Yeah, that's all for me.
I just have this on page 2, it's just pronoun for Ms. Craig's comments, and that's next to the last
that?
paragraph, yeah. Yeah. That was all I had in addition to what you had.
You guys covered all mine. So I'll make a motion that we accept these.
I'll second.
Call vote, please.
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Kreider?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
And this is as corrected.
As
Yes.
corrected.
That's perfect. Okay, we have 2 items on the agenda tonight. First item being under old business. Clerk, would you read that ordinance, please?
Ordinance amending Marion Codified Ordinance Title III Legislative Chapter 111, Council Section 111.04, Duties, Privileges, and Decorum of Members, 111.04G, Rule 27 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Marion.
Has everybody had a chance to look that over?
Yes.
Are there any comments?
I'm still where I'm at from last time. I'm just thinking it's just overly cumbersome, like I said, and I just think it's going to be a little bit too regimented. But I realize, but we've got to strike that balance and so forth. But if there just can be better coordination, better tightening up of everything that we've got now, especially when I brought up the last time with the how we have the sheets out front and it's condensed from a larger set of rules and so forth, which is still a lot, but I think the time limit's going to be, that part. Yes, I realize we've got to, and have a chance for everybody to speak, but I'm just seeing it that just leading into some more problems.
Well, my main thing is just getting the rules codified, because currently the rules are not codified and can be interpreted in many different ways by whoever, including our own council members. So I just would like to see something codified so we have a firm set of rules to go by, so there can be no question on the rules. Whatever you guys, whatever we come up with, the rules is fine, but we just need something definite to refer to, so our committee chairman and our council president has a firm set of rules that can be enforced. And if they're not codified, they're easily challenged.
Anyone from the administration have any comments? From the audience? Yes. Ms. Lubke.
Teresa Lupke, 555 Normandy Drive. I think I missed the last committee meeting. Is this the third meeting it's been on the agenda for committees? Fourth?
Yeah.
So I was at one where we started talking about it, and my recollection is that there seemed to be general consensus that the issue was not, that there really wasn't a problem, but the issue was the presiding officer just having control of the meeting. And if that's the case, then I don't know that this is necessary. But if you feel it's necessary, I would ask you to look at in section G2, so at the bottom of the first page, that my biggest concern is it says members of the public may be recognized by the presiding officer. So the word may means that he or she also may not. So I would suggest changing it to be members of the public wishing to speak shall be recognized by the presiding officer. So that way if someone's hand is up, they get recognized. And if you're adopting this, they can't be recognized again, right, under the same topic, so you can't, because you've already said they can only speak once. But the may makes me really nervous. And not necessarily this presiding officer, but you talk about having it codified, well then, who knows, the next presiding officer may say, well, I don't like what that person's going to say, so I'm not going to use it. So again, I would say, members of the public wishing to speak shall be recognized by the presiding officer versus may would be my recommendation. The other thing I don't see in here that we have, and maybe it's been unwritten, and so I would ask you think about if you're going to put these in writing, do you want it written? This doesn't state that people have to be citizens of the city of Marion to speak. And in the past, I know that's been something that you've asked people to be, and then you have a vote if they're not. I don't know if that's a different piece of legislation somewhere, but if you are going to put all the rules in one place, perhaps that belongs here so that you're not looking in different sections.
That's where the may comes into play.
But then may
Yeah, I see
is
what
like,
you're saying.
this person is in this part of the county, I'm gonna let him or her speak, this person is not. I mean, you might as well not have rules if it's may, right? Because then
Well,
it's no different than what you have right now.
well, then going further with that, you have the presiding officer may impose different reasonable, again, back to time limitations, and may also grant time extensions. Shouldn't that, the syntax be the same? May, yeah.
I don't think so,
Okay.
only because the shall is recognizing them, and they get that 2 or 3 limit, I don't remember if it's 3 minutes. That's a shall. And I think some discretion, and if there's good conversation or, it makes sense to go on, that's where I think may could work. But to say may on even recognizing somebody whose hand is up and the presiding officer chooses this person but not that person, I think, I think that, I can't imagine that would be good governance.
Right.
I believe, Teresa, that, or Ms. Lubke, that this might be a question for the law director because it depends on the type of meeting we're having, right? As to whether they have to, were they required or permitted, I guess.
Usually say I appreciate the question. I'm gonna say that. A lot of good points. Points are well taken. We're all going to have an individual perspective on what the perfect language is. I agree with you. The first may is functional. Whether to shorten the time period because of the vast volume of people wanting to speak, or lengthen it because there's so few that want to speak, the person sitting in the chair should have that discretion. You're not wrong in regards to the shall at the second use, but I would prefer may, because again, I want the person that's in charge of the meeting to run the meeting efficiently and utilize time wisely for everybody's time. And I'm sure there will be an issue in this council chambers in the next 2 or 3 years that will fill the room and everybody will want to speak. And it's important to hear from everybody, but maybe they'll only have a minute. So for a different reason, I think the may fits on the second. But I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's just a perspective. There is a separate rule that talks about council permitting a person living outside the city to speak. And yes, it would be perfect if we get them all in the same area. That's an impossible task.
Okay.
I think we're going to see a little bit of that in the next subject when we talk about e-bikes. It's impossible to get all the relevant sections into the same area. but we do the best we can. So good points. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leskey. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I live out in the county.
But you have
So
property in
just
the
as
city,
you-
right? You have property.
That's the question I want to ask,
Yeah.
is what is that rule and what is it? I mean, if you live in the county, but say you own a property, I can understand if you only live in the county,
Okay.
really don't have a vested interest. But if you own property in the city, then you have a vested interest.
So I haven't looked at the rule. I can find it, but it'd probably take me 15 minutes looking in the book or 10 minutes online. I can find it for you later. But there's a rule that actually says that a person not living in the city must be recognized and permitted to speak by the council. I think the premise of that is based on standing. And usually in a forum, like a government forum, a person before the body needs to have some interest or standing. In a court, you do have standing to bring a case. Are you involved? It's just simply related, are you involved? 34 years, rarely does the council not allow for a Marion County resident to speak. It has happened, it's even happened recently. But it's also there for efficiencies. Because if a meeting's, let's say it's a meeting where 30 city residents speak and there's 5 out of the county, the chairperson can say, we've heard enough, we've heard from our city residents, let's move on. It's focused on the efficiency of the meeting taking place or the governing body meeting taking place. So,
And I understand
Yeah.
what you're saying, and as I said, if I only lived in the county and that was it, period, I 100% agree. I think if you own a property, or if you own multiple properties, that's definitely you have a vested interest, you have standing.
so, good point. The thing to do in the future is we'll find that section in our code and you could propose that the council amend that section to not only refer to reside in the city or own property in the city.
So this
Just
is
the-
not the right time to address this?
No,
what
but
you're trying to say?
but it works well when all our rules are written and people can read them and understand them. It's impossible to have rules that are all written, they're all written. What I'm talking about is, yeah, we can refine it so it's more clear, so that you, if you were to move out of the city and only own property, the rule would say that even though you're not a resident because you own property, the rule itself would say you don't have to ask for permission to speak. So it's something to fix going forward.
I agree, and I think that's what this is about. I think that's what we're talking about, what we need to change or what we need to fix.
Except it's in a different rule area.
And that's what I said, so this is the wrong time.
Yeah.
And if that's a question that you would like to raise to us, I will investigate that. We'll pull out that section, look at it, and see how we can revise it.
Well, and I understand always wanting to keep hold of the level of your rights or control, so to speak. Same thing with the may and shall. Shall, in my opinion, works much better. But may works much better from an administrative perspective because it gives you control. Same thing, I would say with flock cameras. People say if you're not doing anything wrong, why are you worried about it? It's about giving up your control. Not trying to digress.
Excuse me, can we stick to the
I
subject?
just said, I'm not trying to I was making a point that, same thing. You don't want to give up control by changing a word from may to shall. I understand your point. It's a control issue. Public doesn't want to be controlled. We want to be allowed to speak. We want to be able to come up and speak to the public servants. That's very important. They're all public servants, elected by, and you serve at the will and the pleasure of the people.
Thank you.
Can I get your name and address, sir?
I'm Philip Townsend.
Yeah, okay.
You get 634 Harding Highway West.
Let me get that.
Ms. Creighton, oh no, who, can't see who that is back there.
Ashton Seals, 1920 Victory Road, lot 164. So I do have a speech prepared, but I really kind of just want to say, I don't understand why this needs to happen now. You've gone how many years without codifying anything? It just seems like at this moment it is a power grab. You've heard people making noise in the audience and you say, that's why we need to do this. But there's nothing in there whatsoever about the audience. Nothing whatsoever. So can I get a direct answer as to why this needs to happen right now?
I can tell you my opinion on it. It has to happen now because it didn't happen before. And no matter when we decide to do something, somebody's going to say, why now? So you can't go to the past and say, let's do it in the past. You have to do it either now or in the future. So if you don't do it now, it's going to be pushed down the road to something else.
Does that apply to every code and rule out there? So you would say, if somebody said, don't change the Constitution, because why now? You would say, now's no better time?
Well, now's the only time you can do it unless you push it out.
It still doesn't make sense.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rollins.
Aaron Rollins, City Council at Large. I just wanted to point out that Robert's Rules of Order and Parliamentary Procedure have existed for hundreds of years. We don't have to codify that into Marion Code for Robert's Rules of Order and Parliamentary Procedure to exist. We participate almost every Monday in parliamentary processes and in Robert's Rules of Order. There are no rules, as you stated, on the books today, but yet we have meetings, we pass legislation, we pass resolutions, and we do all that without suppressing people's First Amendment right. I think we can continue to do that.
I take exception to you saying that we're trying to suppress.
When you put time limits on people's speech, you are suppressing a First Amendment right. As it sits today, there is no time limit. I could come up here and talk for, as I've done on a couple occasions, come up and spoke at this podium twice on an item. If this legislation passes, I can no longer do that, correct?
No.
That is not correct.
How is that not?
You have to wait until everyone else in the room that wants to speak has spoken, then you can come back and speak. That's clearly outlined in the ordinance.
Well, that's how it's handled today, is it not?
But, like I said before, we need to codify it
Why?
so that the rules.
When I came up here, when this was the first week, I asked, why do we need this? If we're trying to get to the root cause, and do you remember what the answer was?
Yeah.
This gentleman back here remembered, because he just mentioned it right here. What was the answer? It was to shut up people in the audience. That was
That was part
literally
of
what
it,
it
yes.
was. No, that was the answer. It wasn't part of it. That was, I asked, what was the root cause? What was the root? Why do we need this? That was the answer that was given. To his point, there is nothing in here that addresses that specifically. I stated during that first meeting that this all really lends on the presiding officer of the meeting. We had this committee, right? This committee, where someone was at this podium, had an exchange back and forth with a member of the administration, should have been gavelled twice, didn't. It's about the presiding officer, period. Robert's Rules of Order, it's been around for hundreds of years.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Craig?
Naomi Craig, 365 Silver Street. Just wanted to read a quote. Restriction of free thought and free speech is the most dangerous of all subversions. It is the one un-American act. And that's Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas. The may and the shall, I have a real issue with that. The reason is, in the past, Luke Henry was able to get up here and speak for 15 minutes. And when I wanted to follow him and I had not spoken, I was told that we had heard all the conversation that we were going to hear on the topic that night. I said, you can't let him speak for 15 minutes and then not let anyone else speak. And then I was allowed to speak. But that's where you get into your shalls and your mays and your viewpoint discrimination. Okay, and when you're talking about we each get our 3 minutes and then someone shall or may give us extra time. If you don't like what I have to say, I've got a real good feeling I'm getting cut off at 3 minutes. If you like what someone else has to say, I've got a real good feeling they're going to get some extra time. And then you're going to get into viewpoint discrimination. As Mr. Kreider said, We're talking about creating more problems than what really exist. And if everybody wants to go back to when we actually started discussing this, it was after I was called a stupid bitch after a council meeting. And I was called a stupid bitch by 2 council members. You can nod your head no, and.
It's not true.
Okay.
It is not true.
That's
Okay,
fine.
let's
I have the
hold it
recording.
down.
But we're talking about now. That's what happened. I was called names, and from that, legislation to rein in the audience was born. Okay, as we all laughed at Mr. Russell's, you know, I normally appreciate the question, but I normally say that, but not for that question. We all laughed. We all shared in a human moment together. We do that going forward, I'm calling point of order, okay? And you want to allow us to laugh for that, but you don't want to allow us to say, mm-hmm, from the back of the room? You point discrimination. As Mr. Rollins said, Robert's Rules of Order already exist. No one's allowed to speak more than once until everyone that wants to speak on the issue has spoken anyway. That's already the way things go. Everyone that's spoken tonight, I've timed them, it's been more than five minutes. I think we've had some productive conversation tonight. And we've done it, it's taken longer than 3 minutes per person. I want to know if we do pass this with our little 3-minute thing, Mr. Pollack, I'm assuming you'll be the timer. Does Mr. Pollack stop the clock when I ask a question and then you respond? Because if I ask 9 people one question, it's going to take more than 3 minutes unless you all are super quick and can come up with an answer in less than 30 seconds and then move on to the next person. So, you know, to Mr. Townsend's point, building owners that don't live in Marion are allowed to get up here. They don't have to ask to speak. If they own a building and they're a business owner, I'm such and such and I own such and such business, or I represent such and such, they don't have to ask to speak. Why? Mr. Townsend has an interest in Marion. He owns property here. And I'm sure it generates some sort of revenue for the city of Marion. Why does he have to be voted to speak? So, you know, we just need to, if you haven't looked up viewpoint discrimination, you need to. And on that note, I'll tell you that my attorney mailed my check from the city of Marion to me today.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything? Wishes of council?
The only thing I've got left to say is that these rules are lax when you compare them to what the Marion City School Board and the Marion County Commissioners have to do. You have to register in order to speak, and you have to state in your registration what you are going to speak about, and it's decided by the chair whether or not you're allowed to speak. We're opening this up to anybody that's in the room that has something to say, we're going to listen to. And it just helps to have things codified, that the chairperson or council president has a definite set of rules. I agree, Robert's rules have been around forever. I grew up knowing Robert's rules because I grew up in the lodge system. My father was very active in the Eagles and the Elks. I knew about Robert's rules when I was a kid. But the majority of the public does not know Robert's rules, and they need to have an idea when they come through those doors what is permissible and what is not permissible. And if you guys don't want rules, okay. Hey, free for all. And don't complain when it happens.
I think it's already there. I think we've already got it established. It's just, just following a little bit more. Having what we have printed out in front, maybe we need to add some more of that material for that, but I just think, again, it's just going to be overly cumbersome, so.
And I do agree with Mr. Rollins on one point. If the committee chairman and the council president are not going to enforce the laws, I agree they're pointless. So we got to decide whether we're going to go forward with this or just table it.
Okay, we have some more comments. Yes, sir.
Luke Kelly, 365 East Farming. Reading a summarization from a website, about Robert's Rules of Order, everyone has a right to speak once before anyone may speak a second time. So in other words, now that I've spoken, I can't speak again until everybody else that wants to talk has had a turn.
Exactly.
As I understand it, and from what I remember from my Robert's Rules of Order when I took it in college, although my kids were put out that last millennia, that's the way it is. That gives everybody a fair chance to speak. And from what I understand, I don't have it written in front of me to read it. Unfortunately, I didn't get that far with the agenda, but that sounds like what you're putting into codified ordinance, that everybody gets a chance to speak once before others can speak. Now, as far as time limits, that's gonna be another whole issue, but you're not limiting somebody's ability to come and speak and present. You're just limiting how long they can speak, so they need to condense their material a little bit and not repeat facts, etc. So,
And that's exactly the reason I called on you. I had two people over here that had already spoken.
yes,
And I
yes,
called on you.
and that was
You had
the
not.
appropriate thing from my understanding of the rules, that I had new information, so to speak, or new perspective, viewpoint, and I should have a chance to present it before they can speak. And thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Philip Townsend, 363 State Harvey Highway West, 992 Jamaica. So you want to codify, if somebody claps over here, they can get gavelled, but if they clap over here, they don't get gavelled. Let me finish. You want to codify every little move, every little outburst, or, I mean, as I've said, all you got to do is watch the videos. And there's time after time after time where the president allows people to clap, and I'm for that. I'm not against her allowing it. See, that's the thing about me. I'm not, even though I may not agree with everybody on the side, I'm not trying to stifle them. I'm not trying to shut them down. Clap. Be a part of it. You know, come out of the closet so everybody can speak. You know, I mean, I don't understand. I do understand. You're worried about public perceptions of things, and you're worried about controlling people. And it's very obvious. I mean, as I said, you made the point on video that the whole point of this was nothing to do with any of the rules, the times, or any of that. It was because of outburst. But yet you bring nothing up about it. So how do you want to codify that? I'd be interested in hearing that from you. How you going to stop the free-for-all? I'm sorry.
It's up to the chair. How this works in the majority of municipalities around the country, and I have lived in several, and how this works is the chair, either the committee chairman or the council president, if they gavel, if they use their gavel and ask someone to sit down, and they don't, or they continue to create a disturbance, then the sergeant at arms, in this case, would be our police representative in this meeting, would be asked to escort them from the room.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Okay. You keep speaking to decorum at the podium. I just asked you very specifically. You said the whole reason behind you bringing an ordinance, and it's on video multiple times. So you did. Luckily, there's on video what you called Naomi that night.
No, there isn't. There's no audio.
I heard, I know. That's the only thing that's saving you there, bud. But, as I said, on video, you've expressed that the only reason you brought it was because of outbursts from the gallery, the audience, the pain in the asses, or whatever you call them. Those people, that's what you call them, Mr. At-Large. You're an at-large council person. Your job is to listen to all the people, the boring ones, the long-winded ones, the ones you don't like, the ones you do like, ones you'll suck up to, the ones you don't want to suck up to, whoever, whichever. But I just asked you a specific question. You addressed the podium issue, decorum. We keep saying, it's like a good coach, a good referee. You either have a good game or a bad game. It's all about the coaches and the referees setting the tone. We don't have a very good president to set the tone. Maybe we need to get another one. That's an electoral thing. Why don't you tell me how codifying this is going to codify the emotions and get control of that? Can you address that, please?
Okay. Everybody's got emotions. You have to control them. Now, if the council president, if we're an open council, and the council president does not hear something, that's not something I can control. However, I have talked with President Stoneburner and asked her to be more attentive to what's going on in the entire room. Now, you're right, I did say that when we first introduced this legislation. I will not deny it, because it was a serious issue at the time. We could not get through a meeting without several people.
What, because somebody made a comment that like stopped the whole meeting?
It disrupts the flow of business up here at the table.
But it happens.
We are in charge of the business of the city.
No, you aren't.
Okay. I'm finished.
Let me interrupt you, if you would. As chairperson of this committee, I can't speak for the president of council. I can't speak for any chairpersons of any other committees. I can speak for me. And in my opinion, as long as you are respectful, as long as you're not disruptive, as long as you don't call people names and get out of order, so to speak, you can say whatever you want to. I have no problem with anybody voicing their opinion.
I think the thing that started this was a comment about supposedly somebody called a council person a jackass from the audience.
And that's past history?
Okay, but my point being is we have outbursts, whether there be from joyous occasions or joyous announcements, and it's very easily on all the numerous videos.
I agree.
And as I said, you can play the game of, well, if the president don't see it, then she can't call it. Well, when she's looking right at it, and it happens, and she doesn't bang, 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 but then we're over here, she's looking over here, we say something. I can whisper something in this room back here, and everybody turns their head. I proved it just earlier. So my point being is, I've asked him twice, how are you going to codify and address the issue with the people in the audience? Explain that to me, sir.
Well, I cannot explain it.
I know.
And,
I've asked him twice. He keeps going off on this tangent and that tangent.
Evidently, he
Do I
doesn't.
not have a right to give an answer from him?
If he doesn't want to answer, you
Okay,
can't
so
make
he
it.
needs to say, I can't answer, won't answer, or,
To give you a little insight on, I won't gavel somebody unless they're disruptive. Same thing with laughter or anything, comments from the audience. If they're disruptive, I'm going to gavel. Because the people who don't want to hear that stuff have a right not to hear it, as much as the people who want to say things.
exactly, it's a two-sided street.
Exactly.
And it's about intent, and I think it's about, as you say, whether it's a free-for-all, as you want to call it, or if somebody makes a momentary clap or something, what's wrong with that?
Well, I think sometimes we overreact.
Okay, then we do. I've not seen it happen yet in a year and a half of coming here. No, I've not seen it happen yet.
I think this job, being chairperson, is a subjective job. You have to make decisions as to what goes on. It's not hard and fast that you're going to do this, when this happens, you're going to do that.
But sometimes we have a tendency to not object to people we're friendly with and object to people we're unfriendly with, whether it be through politics or whatever.
Right.
It's sometimes, I don't think people even know they're doing it.
Well, I can't answer for other people, but I know
get it.
that it doesn't matter to me which side you sit on. You're a human being and you have a right to say what you want to say.
I've seen a change in it.
As long as you
I've seen a
respect
change in it, and I appreciate it, I really do. You're listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes.
Rachel Woods, 59 Park Boulevard. Just from what I can kind of look up for the Roberts rule, it also states in here that that's only a 10-minute gap unless you vote different. So there is a rule on the length of time from what I'm looking up on the Roberts rule, just to help you out. I'm for the 3-minute rule, doesn't bother me a bit. Get what you need to say out, go back, let other people talk, go back up. If you're letting them go back up, I don't know why it's an issue to do that. So I'm for it, you can do what you please, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kirk?
Naomi Craig, 365 Silver Street. Mr. Clark, you just made the comment that you are the ones that run the city and that do the business of the city. I would ask, you spoke of school boards and commissioner meetings. I would suggest that you look up the difference between administrative bodies and legislative bodies, because city council is a legislative body and both city schools, well, any school board and the county commissioners are actually administrative bodies. They don't make laws, they just administer them. You all make laws. And as you just said, you want to make a law. I don't know if you realized it or if it was a Freudian slip. You want to make a law about our speech. You said law. I know we always say ordinance or whatever, but you said law. I mean, you are bent on making a law. And then you also said that if we're gavelled once, we'll be told to sit down. Because typically, you get a gavel and you get yourself in order and then you're allowed to finish what's being said. So I think we should probably clear that up, because if we're gavelled once and then we don't sit down, now we've been told that the police representative is going
There
to...
was an if in there that you're missing, that I said.
And
Okay, but...
If you continue to be disruptive, you will be asked to leave.
Will we be asked to leave or will we be asked to sit down? We're going to be forced to leave the entire meeting?
I was just going for the worst-case scenario.
I can answer for me. If you're disruptive and I gavel, I will ask you to get
Get it
yourself
under
together.
control, right?
Get yourself together, and if you can, continue talking. If you cannot, then I will ask you to sit. And
So we won't be removed at that point. We will be asked to, if we can't contain ourselves, we will be asked to be
removing
seated.
somebody is my last resort.
Thank you. And then I wanted to say that I did say jackasses, I'll admit that. That was into a horrible stereotype. I am third up Irish, and it was implied up here that all Irish are alcoholics and go to wakes and do nothing but get drunk. So yes, I did say jackass because I thought that was a horrible stereotype, and when you offend a third of my family. My grandfather's actually half Irish, and my great-grandmother came straight from Ireland. So I don't appreciate the stereotypes. If we could keep the stereotypes and the name-calling and all of that thing under wraps, I think we would have some
And I
better
think that
productive
goes
meetings.
from both sides of the table.
Mr. Smith, I do have to say that I believe we've found some common ground, and I respect you in your role as chairperson, and I thank you for listening to everyone that you have.
Thank you. Anyone else? What's the wishes of the council on this? Or committee?
I'd like to send it on to council.
Will you make the motion?
I will move that we send it on to council.
What's your recommendation as far as yes or no?
Well, with mine is a recommendation to approve.
Not going to get a second.
Not going to do the second?
No.
I'm not going to second either.
Then I will withdraw my motion, and I will make a motion that we table this ordinance and forget about it.
Well, let's hold it
Yeah.
for another meeting. Hey,
All right.
hey, good?
Yeah.
So, motion is to
Yes,
hold it
yes.
for another meeting?
I will make the motion to hold it for another meeting.
I'll second. Clerk, call the vote, please.
We don't need a
Vote. No, for that.
Okay, good. All righty, so that one's held, we'll cover that again. Item number 2 under old business is discussion of regulations governing e-bikes and other things. Clerk, would you read that, please?
This just came in earlier today. Ordinance amending Part 3 Traffic Code, Title 1 Administration, Enforcement and Penalties, and Title 9 Pedestrians, Bicycles, Motorcycles, and Snowmobiles. More specifically, Chapter 301 Definitions and Chapter 373 Bicycles and Motorcycles of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Marion and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. This is an attempt to try to rein in some problems that I think virtually every city and citizen in this city is having with e-bikes and scooters and skateboards and whatever. We just received a new ordinance today at 1:34. I have not had the chance to look it over completely. I did go through and make a summary, and if you will indulge me, I will go ahead and read this summary so that everybody has kind of an idea of what it involves. It updates the City of Marion Traffic Code to regulate electric bicycles or e-bikes, motorized bicycles, scooters, skateboards, and other powered mobility devices in response to their increasing use throughout the city. It defines electric bicycle as Class 1 e-bikes, pedal assist up to 20 miles an hour, Class 2 e-bikes, throttle capable up to 20 miles an hour, and Class 3 e-bikes, pedal assisted up to 28 miles an hour. It also clarifies that an electric bicycle is not considered a motorized bicycle or a moped. It creates a new definition for low-speed micro-mobility devices. It defines a lightweight electric or human-powered device with handlebars weighing under 100 pounds and capable of speeds up to 20 miles an hour. It also expands the definition of toy vehicle. It broadens the definition to include powered scooters, skateboards, roller skates, wagons, sleds, and similar motorized devices not otherwise classified as motorcycles, mopeds, or e-bikes. It establishes several new requirements for electric bicycles. It requires the operator to possess a valid Ohio driver's license. Riders under 18 must wear a helmet. Riders under 16 may not operate a Class 3 e-bike, although they may ride as a passenger if the bicycle is designed to carry a passenger. Motorized bicycles and e-bikes may not be ridden on sidewalks or shared use path using motor power. Human-powered operation is allowed. Toy vehicles, operators are required to be at least 16 years old, hold a valid Ohio driver's license or temporary permit, wear a CPSC-approved helmet, equip the vehicle with a rear red light for nighttime operation, and follow normal traffic laws while operating on streets. Helmet requirements: riders under 18 on motorized bicycles and electric bicycles must wear a helmet. Children under 18 riding as passengers on bicycles, e-bikes, or mobility devices must wear a helmet. Parents or guardians may not knowingly allow minors to violate these helmet requirements. And enforcement violations remain minor misdemeanors where applicable, and certain new offenses are designated as strict liability, meaning that intent does not have to be proven in order for it to be enforced. And then it's an emergency clause, and so they want it to get through as quickly as possible. Mr. Law Director, did I misquote anything, or?
No, that was a pretty good summary of what this does. I just would clarify one thing. So what was emailed around 1 o'clock today to the chairperson and what was handed out to those in attendance this evening is really nothing new other than it's in the ordinance format. It's actually the same material that was on the pages that were handed out approximately 6 weeks, if not more, ago. So it's the same, there's nothing new other than Mayor Collins arrived back from the mayor's conference and brought a couple of insightful communities and what they're doing to deal with this issue. And I've incorporated a couple of those, I've pulled a couple things from those two community ordinances. And then Chief McDonald was also shared comments, and I've incorporated his comments into the document to address issues such as e-bikes on pathways and things that you kind of touched on in the summary. But I want to just finally, it was probably September or October of last year, Dr. Richard Arndt brought it to the attention, and I'm sure it had been raised before that, but he said we really need to address the amount of children on toys in the streets. And I want to turn to what this ordinance that I've handed out and would ask that you forward on to council really does is, our current code doesn't define toy vehicles. So we don't currently capture motorized skateboards, motorized scooters, all the kind of different configurations of devices. It's on, let me find it. We add the definition on the third page of the handout. It's towards the top. There'd be a new definition, 301.52. It defines toy vehicle. So that defines what a toy vehicle is. And then if you turn then to page, the sixth page of the handout, the second from the last, that's the prohibition. So the first part defines what a toy vehicle is, and then you turn to page 6 towards the end. 373.135 is the prohibition section. That's the what, who, and where are prohibited, or what are the requirements to operate the toy vehicle device. And it's on page 6. Those are the two most important things. Those are things we need to do. These other things that have made it turn out to be 7 pages are just cleanup activity along the way, kind of like there's another rule talks about outside residence. We were able to capture some of these cleanup things in this. If we captured all the cleanup things, it would be 20 pages plus. But I would be happy to answer any questions anybody has, but I would recommend and hope that the council, once their questions, or the committee, once the questions are answered, will forward it on so council can ask its questions, make amendments to the proposal, and get it in a position where it can be acted upon by the council after 3 readings, so that everybody can share their comments.
Yeah, the clerk just had one question, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. Do mini bikes qualify as motorcycles or toy vehicles?
So motorcycles and mini bikes are motor vehicles. Okay. To ride a motorcycle or a mini bike on the street in City of Marion, you have to have a valid Ohio driver's license to begin with. So we've already have structure to deal with those. Part of the problem is identifying the device, because now they make things that don't look like the typical mini bike with the Tecumseh engine and the gas tank on top, more motorcycle-like. They just don't look like mini bikes, but they're somewhat similar to mini bikes. That's why the definition of toy vehicle becomes important, especially from an enforcement standpoint. When a person is cited for operating contrary to these codes, it has a definition, and the court has some structure to determine whether the device qualifies as a toy vehicle and whether or not the operator was violating the prohibitions that are proposed on this document. So we're okay with mini bikes and motorcycles because we kind of have an understanding what a mini bike looks like, but it's all those new configurations that really, whether it's, I won't go down all the different things that we've seen, but there's a vast variety of different devices.
I do have one question. It's probably my misunderstanding, but in the description of toy vehicle, it lists roller skates.
So
then back on page 6, it says that they have to have a red taillight and that type of thing. Does that mean people with roller skates should have that?
So the answer to your question, in my opinion, would be yes.
Yeah.
Because think of the devices. I mean, believe it or not, I've used this with a couple times. So you can buy a skateboard that's probably no longer than 6 feet that'll go 100 miles an hour. Or I'm sure someone would develop roller skates soon that'll take you 50 miles an hour. Both would be extremely dangerous. But if you're going to have them in the roadway because you're licensed and you're 18, you don't need to wear a helmet because you're 18, you better have a red light on the back and all the other requirements so that it looks more vehicle-like.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they actually, it's a little bit of a holdover, but yeah, it looks silly, but it's in there intentionally.
All right. Committee, anything?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to point out that as we've sat through these meetings, a lot of things that have brought people to the podium, as far as e-bikes and people running red light, all of that stuff is already against the law. The question about mini bikes, ATVs, those are defined in the revised code as all-purpose vehicles. Basically, you cannot drive them anywhere but private property. You can't ride them on the sidewalk, you can't ride them in the street. Private property is the only place that you can ride that kind of stuff. And then none of that's covered in here. Those things are, the things we get the most complaints about are those ATVs and the mini bikes. And then when people complain about e-bikes and motorized scooters and those kinds of things, the stuff that is covered in here, you still have to follow the traffic laws. You can't run through red lights, you can't cross wherever you want, you can't go the wrong way down the road. Those kinds of things all can still be enforced under the regular traffic laws of the city of Marion and the state of Ohio.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Allen.
Yeah, Aaron Ross, City Council at Large. Just want to thank Chief and the Law Director for listening. A lot of the things that were mentioned, specifically age requirements, specifically calling out sidewalks, walkways, clearly defining some definitions in here. Thank you for the time and effort that went into this. Please, let's get this on to full council so we can deliberate and get this thing before we're talking about snowmobiles.
Mr. Kelly.
Sulu County 365 with farming. On page 5, under section 2, I guess I'll call it, no person under 16 years of age shall operate a class 3 electric bicycle. However, a person under 16 years of age may ride as a passenger on a class 3 electric bicycle that is designed to accommodate passengers. I may have missed it, but I've skimmed through this, and nowhere else does it talk about a passenger. And that it needs to, the e-bike, or whatever we want to call these things, has to have a accommodation for a passenger. Since we've started this discussion, I saw somebody sitting on the handlebars where somebody else was operating it. So we need to make sure that, maybe modify this a little bit, that the, whatever we call these, is designated and meant to operate with a passenger.
Or single occupant.
Right, whether it's
Driver,
single occupant or
operator, yeah.
Yeah, operator and passenger. But be clear on that, because in this case, the way I read this, if it was a class 2, I'd have somebody ride on the handlebars and you couldn't do anything about it. So I suggest that modification. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's in there.
It's in there? Oh, I missed it then.
Section
So-
Right, but that's only on class 3.
I understand, but look, read all of that and then read this later.
Okay, all right, I missed that. Thank you.
Okay, this brings up a question for me too, from what he read here. On that page 5, section 2, talking about persons under 16 years of age may ride as a passenger if the vehicle is designed to accommodate passengers. But then if you go to the next page, under section 5B, it says, no person operating a motorized bicycle shall carry another person upon the motorized vehicle or bicycle.
That is specifically talking about if you're under the age of 18. If you read above that, that is specifically calling out if you're under the age of 18, you cannot, under any circumstance, have another person on that vehicle.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
So if I may,
Go ahead.
just on Mr. Kelly's point, so that actually was taken from Sandusky, one of the two that the mayor brought back as far as being out front. that was mentioned during the mayor's conference. And the prohibition is, so, you're right, the class 3 is the fastest, 1, 2, 3, it's the fastest. It can be pedaled, and then it goes at speeds greater than 28, I can't. So it's the fastest device. What this is really saying is, you can't ride the e-bike class 3 on a street unless you're licensed. That's really what it's saying. And then it goes on, they actually had that sentence about, unless you're a passenger with a licensed driver on a class 3. So it's really specific to class 3. And yes, you have to kind of read it as a merry-go-round, go around to make it all fit. But it is comprehensive. And we can refine it as it carries forward through council.
Yes, I think I caught. Ms. Luckett, go ahead.
Teresa Lepke, 555 Normandy Drive. Just real quick, I want to also say thank you for adding the not on a sidewalk. That was my comment the first time it came up as someone who uses sidewalks a lot. I just had a question. On section 1 on page 5, it talks about the person holding a valid probationary motorized bicycle license issued after they've passed the test. Is that something that gets administered here in the city? How do people get that license?
So that was cut and paste from the Ohio Revised Code.
Okay.
So that's kind of legislation that the state legislature has put in place, hoping that the municipalities and communities will follow. So it's just cut and paste. I hope they have a process to go get this at the License Bureau. So the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles would be responsible for those sections, not a local government doing
Okay.
license exams.
I'm all for this. I think pass it on to council. We need to move forward. I would just advise that city administration in particular, because you're the ones that are going to get phone calls once this legislation is known, have an answer like that. The motor vehicle department has, be ready, because hopefully people learn about this law, and some people at least, not all, but some, will get the license that they need.
I see that as a reactionary thing. We've got an ordinance in fact, and then as far as people just not knowing.
Right, but let's be, you
Yeah,
want the,
got it,
obviously, administration,
yeah.
when the phone calls come in,
Yeah.
they want to be able to say, yep,
Right.
the motor vehicle department is ready, you just go there and you can get your license or whatever that process is.
Yes, sir.
Philip Downs, 363 for Harding, Highfield West, 992 Jamaica. I said this before and will say it again. I know that ordinance is all part of the process, but it all goes back to everything's legal until you get caught. I mean, the reason I come to the podium tonight about this is there's a kid, don't know who he is, looks a lot like Danny Logan, not picking on him, but he just looks like Danny Logan. That comes down, I go down Main Street, same time every day. This kid's always riding in the turn lane and will dart out of nowhere and cross those lanes, man. And I've almost hit him once. And, it's going to happen. I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm pretty sure that I can't help it right now. But I think I heard you say a few weeks back that you don't have the personnel to actively go after this. Not saying you won't go after it, but it's not going to be the top priority. And I've seen officers, I've brought this up again, I've seen multiple officers different times, kids riding around, and I'm not trying to be nice, I'm staying over here in the Fair Park right now, and the mini bikes and e-bikes are everywhere. I don't care, it doesn't really bother me, but nobody's 18, nobody's got any permits, people are running through people's yards and doing this, that, and it's all night long, and you see cops drive right by it. So, again, are we just, sometimes I think, and the only reason I made a comment to another council person about we administer the laws, I feel like we sit up here and talk about a lot of stuff and don't get a lot done. I'm not trying to be an asshole towards anybody. I'm just saying, the whole decorum thing seems like just a whole lot of waste of time. I think this is a needed ordinance, but if it's not going to be enforced, or if it's not going to be applied for, I'm not saying.
If I may, can I share my statement? So, many times during the last 2 years, I've had supervisors from the police department call me to ask questions about how to deal with this issue of all these fancy devices, improved technology. They are working hard to do it. And as I've heard Chief McDonald say, you can't tell what that particular officer is doing at a point in time when you see them. Most likely, if you were to listen to scanner traffic, they're on a call. They're on another call. I just wanted to share that from listening to radio traffic, from working with law enforcement, these officers every day go out there and they enforce all the laws. I know you may have seen an officer you thought was ignoring enforcing the law. That would be out of the ordinary for my observations. So what they are asking for is clean up the definitions so that we can write that ticket. That's actually, we've had a case in the last 2 years where a person was, this is more than a year ago, where we had an issue with the definition of toy vehicles. We're fixing it.
Okay.
So
And I said that at the very beginning of my statement, that I know ordinances are necessary, it's part of the process. What threw me was you sitting over there going like this, like you were disgusted with my comment. I don't think that, I'm not an all or nothing person. I don't assume every cop is not doing something. I guarantee you, some of the cops I've seen, when they're sitting there sucking on their Kool-Aid or whatever the hell, they ain't on a call. I wasn't trying to go there with it. But you want to confront me like this?
No, I'm not confronting.
No, you did, though.
I just wanted to discuss it with you.
And I just said to you, from the beginning, that this was I get it, we have to write an ordinance. I'll guarantee you, I'll find the video. I'm not picking on the Chief McDonald. He did make the statement that it isn't a priority for him because he doesn't have the people. I'm not trying to say we can't act like it never happens or it always happens. That's what everything is today. It's either it always happens, every cop is not doing their job, or every cop is doing their job. Isn't there anything in between?
Yes, there is.
Probably is. Nice.
You're welcome. Absolutely. If we're on our way to a domestic and we see a kid on a mini bike, we're not stopping to deal with the kid on the mini bike. However, this doesn't deal with mini bikes at all. So what this ordinance does is it defines things that we need defined so that we can take action when it makes the best opportunity to do so. And I would never stand up here and say that every cop does everything exactly right, because it's not true. I've been doing it for almost 33 years, and if I would ever to say that I do everything right every day, I'd be lying. The police officers are humans just like everybody else, and sometimes they jack it up. Sometimes I jack it up. That's the way it happens because we employ human beings. But we need this ordinance to give our people the tools that they need to take action. And I personally have been in Fair Park and have stopped a half a dozen kids on these things. And the action I've taken has been, you can't ride them in the street. Take them home. Talk to their mom and dad. I've not wrote one ticket, but I will tell you that we as a department have wrote a bunch of tickets to usually the repeat offenders who we get calls on a lot. I live in town. I can tell you where they live. They ride, and they ride in the park. And that's usually what ticks off the neighbors is when they see them riding in the park, and then they call the police. I know where the kids are in Fair Park because I know who the people are who complain, and they complain about specific kids riding in the ditch behind the school.
You only know where the ones that the people are complaining. Like I said, I can give you a whole street full of them because we don't complain.
Yeah, and I'm not, and if you're not complaining, the chances of an officer going to look for them are zero.
I get you. I get zero on that.
So it is, at the end of the day, the calls that we get the most are four-wheelers, mini motorcycles that are not impacted by this ordinance at all. What this ordinance does is helps us with definitions for e-bikes and these toy vehicles like the powered unicycle and the one-wheel and these motorized scooters that in a lot of big cities you can rent. And it gives us the rules, kind of how to deal with that, like riding on a sidewalk not permitted. Those kinds of things that are not in the law now that we need, because if there's a crash, somebody runs into a pedestrian and there's not a rule in the ordinance that says you can't do it, then what do we do?
And I'm
So-
not against what you're doing, I didn't, as I said.
So, no, I think we're on the same page. I would never stand up here and say that this is the top of the priority list of the 52 law enforcement officers we have. But what it is it gives us the tools for when we have to respond, to be able to respond.
For future reference, everybody, I give everybody the benefit of the doubt that we're all adults. So I try to speak to people as adults. I'm not an all or nothing person, but I don't feel I have to spell out every little detail of every little thing, because I assume we're all intelligent adults here, that we can all follow along and be adults here. So,
Thank you,
Just that.
appreciate it. Any other comments? Yes, Mr. Kelly.
Sue Kelly, 365 East Farming. Going back to my previous, and again, maybe I missed it, but page 6 talks about somebody that's 18 years old, operating and having a passenger. Or talk about somebody that's 18 and operating. What if we have a 19-year-old operating? Are they allowed to have a passenger even though their e-bike doesn't allow for it? I see a loophole here.
Where are you at, Mr.
Okay, on page 6, and under 18 years of age at the top, and then you go down, it says, D, no person operating a motorized bicycle shall carry another person upon a motorized bicycle. But then it doesn't address it if they're over 18, if they're 19 years old. Or, so it only addresses it if they're under 18. The way I read it now.
So this section is specific, following along with the Ohio Revised Code section on e-bikes. So this is specific to e-bikes.
And for those under 18 years of age.
Right, so a person under 18 has to wear a helmet.
Right, so now if you get somebody that's 19 years of age.
They don't have to wear a helmet.
Granted, but a passenger.
Passenger can, the passenger.
Have anything about the passenger for somebody that's 19?
There is in regards to class 3 e-bikes. Passenger on a class 3 e-bikes, which is the fastest of the 3 classes, has to wear a helmet. But we may just have a difference of opinion on what to incorporate, but a little bit of thought is, a traditional bicycle, does the city council believe it's time and long overdue to prohibit a person riding a pedal bicycle with no electric assist motors and having someone stand on the foot pegs? How far do we take it? So it's a little bit of a balance. We're dealing with e-bikes and powered mobility, or powered bikes, devices. It's where do you, there's got to be a line, so you can't provide for everything. Are we going to prohibit the people standing on the back pegs, someone riding on a handlebar on a regular conventional bicycle? I mean, how far do we want to go? Maybe that's for a later day. We need to get this in place for today, and maybe later revisit, do we prohibit riding on handlebars?
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
I think I can clarify his question.
Could you step up for a minute, please?
Yeah, 311, 555 Romney Drive. I don't read legislation every day, and so sometimes it's difficult to follow the sections because where it's indented, where it's not indented, doesn't follow like an outline that I would teach when I'm writing somebody how to write an essay. So if you look at, on page 4, it has section A, right, at the bottom of page 4. And then all those 1, and then on page 5, there's 1A, then there's 2, 3, 4, 5. Those all fall under section A, correct? And then sections B, C, and D are independent sections. So where it says no person operating a motorized bicycle should carry another person, it's irregardless of their age. That's not a subcategory of the 18 above it. It's its own section.
So you just did a really good job of educating on how judges read statutes. You read it perfectly correct. In regards to, you look for the capital A, and if there's a 1 after it, that's a subsection. In this case, there's a little a, that's one little a, it's a subsection. And you're right, the big B and the Cs, that's right, they are
So I think that was
It is
confusing some of
confusing.
us because we saw this bold at the top and
Yeah.
thought that everything underneath it was part of that, but it's not. So it does definitely clarify that nobody can have a passenger unless the bike allows for a passenger in its class 3.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anything from the committee?
Do you think there's any other, language adjustments or anything before sending that out? I don't know if there's.
I think Ms. Lubke made a couple of suggestions.
Suggestions, yeah.
Did you pick up on those? Did we want to include those?
I'd like to as well. I think they've been very, as far as, if we could just get it a little bit more defined, I think. It's probably
Right.
more- Yeah,
Summer's gonna be over.
I know.
I would like to make a motion that we send this on to council as corrected.
Help me out and help the clerk out.
Okay.
So you just talked about a couple of comments were made earlier.
Yeah.
It's important that the clerk understands specifically what those comments are and the rest of us so we can understand. I suggest you send it on as it was presented to committee to get its first reading, and then let's pick up those comments, because I'm sure there might be 3, 4, and 5 positive suggestions. Let's start adding amendments once we get it to the first reading.
I agree. So I would make a motion that we send this on to council with the recommendation to approve.
I'll second.
Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Kreider?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have finished with our old business, we have no new business. We're into matters not on the agenda. Does anyone have anything for Legislation, Codes, and Regulations Committee? Yes, sir.
It's Daniel Erickson, 912 Cambridge Avenue. I first came to City Council to speak, actually 3 months ago. I've been here once or twice since then, but it's been a while. And I came back tonight, and now I realize how much fun it is. Gosh, I should be here more often. I first spoke to City Council in regards to the door expansion on March 23rd. I came back 2 weeks later on April 6th. At that meeting, the mayor actually approached me before the meeting, remembered what I had said at the first meeting, and subsequently met with me at his request. Understood after that meeting why I was primarily concerned about the parking lot belonging to the church that I attend, and my concern that the door had been expanded without anybody knowing about it into an area where the participants in recovery groups, which meet 6 days a week at our church, park and go during their breaks. I was concerned that City Council, and I should say, after the first meeting, I was approached by a number of people on City Council who were anxious to tell me that they weren't on City Council at the time that the expansion happened, or that they don't like the idea of the DORA at all. I want to make it very clear, as I have tried to make it in each time I've spoken, the DORA is a thing. I'm not trying to make the whole DORA go away. That has been misunderstood by some who came up and felt it was necessary to speak on behalf of the DORA, which wasn't trying to make it go away. I just was concerned about the fact that a City Council, not this City Council, had expanded it without contacting people who it would affect. When the mayor met with me at that location and instantly said, what we're going to do is I'm going to have somebody in the city garage make some signs that say, not in the DORA. And I was away for a week or two, and when I came back, signs everywhere. The whole, the DORA stops here sign was gone, and we've got a wealth of signs that say, not in the DORA. Now, that's great. I very much appreciate that. It was stated at the time, and remains, that that was a temporary solution while the bigger issue gets fixed. I spoke for the second time on April 6th. On April 25th, I wrote an email to each of the members of this committee, which at this point now, 10 weeks later, I've not heard back from anybody on the committee. So I don't know whether it's standard practice to not respond to emails. Maybe that's part of the steep learning curve, and you haven't been on council long enough to know that you should respond to emails. We'll leave that. But in the letter that I sent, I indicated that I didn't feel like I believe that I've been heard. And I believe that certainly from hearing from individuals, that, there was a lot of agreement, and they thought that it needed to be pulled back or at least investigated. I heard plenty about how, it's a long process, blah, blah. And I said, I won't come back to city council meetings on a regular basis to make a nuisance of myself. And I won't bring a bunch of other people who agree with me to make a nuisance of themselves. But it's been a while now. It's been some months. I haven't heard anything. And so I thought perhaps I need to come back and remind you on the committee that I'm still waiting to hear about a decision about that. Again, not trying to make the DORA go away. I'm only asking that the eastern expansion of it, and when I showed a map of here's the old DORA, here's the new DORA, there were audible gasps from the gallery back here. So as it stands, the DORA has not changed. All I'm asking, somebody else can deal with the expansion to the north, to the west, and to the south. I'm asking that some consideration be given to moving it back where it used to be. And sadly, there's not a name for the street that I keep referring to. It's the one that runs just to the east of Founders Park and goes up until it hits the courthouse. We should probably name that street so that I wouldn't look like an idiot every time I have to describe where it was. And I would put in that I would happily, you could put my name on it if you want.
High Street. Are you talking about High Street?
It isn't High Street. It's an alley.
It's an alley, that's what I'm saying, yeah. You're right, I know.
Founders Park.
Point being, it's where it used to be. And in the expansion, it went a bunch of blocks. And I understand that it's so that people can have their drinks so they can walk from where they got it, 2 or 3 blocks, to go to a shop. But in their vigor to defend the DORA, some untruths were spoken about people. Oh no, they want to be in the DORA. They were anxious to be in the DORA, and I don't need to get into all of the details of that, but there were things said, not by this committee, but people who wanted to say that things should be left alone, that simply weren't true. One of those being that one business that was said to have been anxious to be in the DORA wasn't at the location where they were until less than a year ago, and this decision was made more than 2 years ago. So, we can go around and round and round, but truth is truth. And don't tell me somebody was anxious to be in the DORA when they were located 1.5 miles east of the DORA.
Let me respond to, I think, Evelyn, did you send out something on the DORA to council a year or so ago, was it? Well, probably after.
Right, after,
Sure.
I believe it was in
Yeah.
preparation for that meeting. I sent you
Okay.
the ordinances and what the map of the current location and what the
Right.
prior ones, prior map had been. And I think it just at this point, it's to the pleasure of this committee whether they wanted to.
Do you know what would need to take place in order to adjust that?
I do, and I did pass that, I gave the itinerary of all of the protocol to this committee. I can send it again to you.
Probably, yeah, if I remember right, it was very complicated.
You're right, so, and I guess if you wanted to initiate.
Could you send that back again, and then we'll take a look at it and see what we can do?
I believe there was a 5-year stipulation, and if you had to start over, if you was adjusted and so forth, and there's only like 1.5 years
Right.
left on the current one,
Yeah.
and so forth. I think that's what it was when I talked to you about that.
Right, so the decision, and if I recall, the gentleman was interested in not waiting the to the end of its natural
Cycle,
sunset.
yeah, okay.
And so again, that's up to the board. But yeah, I can send that, the protocol to you, and you can decide if that's what
Please do,
you
yeah.
desire.
Thank you. We will look at it, see what we can do.
And as I indicated in my universally ignored email, I would be happy to go around and speak to, I mean, I already spoke, that's part of it, and that's part of the embarrassment to me, is that I spoke to a number of the people that were included in the DORA without their knowledge, and every one of them said that they would prefer not to be in it. And if I need to, to go back to them and get a statement or to invite them to come here, these meetings go long enough, and again, I don't have to come every week.
I'm trying to search my brain for like a retail business. There are no bars in that area. You've got Papa John's.
They're not in it.
No, they're not.
Oh, okay.
Strangely,
Not in.
they're about
Okay.
50 feet outside.
Well, when we were at the Elks on State Street, when we were still in existence, we were told that we would not be included in DORA.
You
And,
weren't in the original one, you are now.
well, we're not there anymore because we got evicted. But,
Evicted is a strong word.
well, those guys, I'm not going to go into that now. What businesses are in that area east of State Street that want to be in DORA?
Is it Cohatch, is in the stretch?
What's Cohatch? I'm unfamiliar with it.
Co-works.
Oh, okay.
The dance studio, which is right before their
Mhm.
parking lot.
Didn't it scoop down and get the Historical Society too?
Yes, it did.
It did because of
Kept
events.
the Historical Society in, but tried to jump across the street to be mindful of the former YMCA with the Green Histories and other recovery efforts, so.
That was part of my original concern. Again, my immediate, most significant concern was about that parking lot for the thing that I've tried to be a dead horse now talking about. But also, within that area, and if you were to start there and walk back, you're right, you're not going to run into, you won't hit a bar until you're well past the original location. I've been told, it's not about the bars, it's about the toy stores that really want people to go get a beer and then come in and shop there. There are some legal offices, there are some salons, there's the place that I mentioned earlier, the place directly across the street, Bohemian Beesums, I think, again, they sell stuff. It's not a head shop like you might assume, but it's something. But again, they're the ones that were not in, they were not anxious to be in the DORA. But they were a mile and a half east of it, and so when it was stated that they were anxious to be in the DORA, the timing just doesn't match up. So, the dance studio is owned by somebody who I've known since before she was born. She's not going to let somebody walk in there with a beer. And I know you can put up a sign and say, "We're not welcome here." But as I mentioned about the parking lot in the first place, in 150 years, we didn't have to put up a sign that said, "It's not welcome here," because you weren't allowed to wander around downtown with alcohol. Now you are. All I'm trying to say is, let's move it back to be a little bit more reasonable, and we're not going to exclude anybody. If the co-work place is anxious for people to be able to bring alcohol in, then you make an exception for them. But all of the other businesses are not businesses that I think would welcome alcohol. I'm just looking for some reasonable adjustment. I think that the previous city council from 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I just think that they went wild with it and said, let's just, why not all of Marion County at that point? But I know that cooler heads prevail now. So I wanted to come back and speak again so that it didn't just fall off of anybody's radar.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our attention again, and I want to apologize if I didn't answer your email. I usually answer all the emails, so I must have overlooked it or something, but I'll apologize.
I will just say.
I'm not at that point yet where you know my name, so that when I raise my hand, you call me by name, I don't know that I want to reach that point. So.
I know. I was going to say, I was going to, just on activities for Third Thursday, I was looking around looking at the perimeters from that, to see who was actually carrying drinks over. Most people still consume them at that location, and are supposed to pour them out if they go and then get another cup. And I was just curious to see really if people were actually, and I plainly did not see anything. And that's what I'm saying.
I'm not saying that it is happening. I'm just saying that by giving permission for it to happen, because if we're gonna set the standard by what most people don't do, then we can take down the speed limit signs.
I think that the thing is to see, again, to really get a good survey, work with downtown Marion, for example, and so forth, seeing what that limitation and the process, again, to unwind some things and to make some adjustments, whether, again, that starts that clock again for like the 5-year, and just get that all pulled together and getting it tightened up and so forth, so.
And I'm sorry that the process is complicated.
Well,
but
it's.
Had your predecessors not been
a lot of pieces,
in the Wild
I guess,
West, we
usually.
wouldn't be having this conversation, so. All right,
Thank you, thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Dave Roush. I live at 5048 Grand Cardigan Road.
I got a vote.
You can just make the decision.
Go ahead.
Okay. I own Ken and Killed Uptown. Okay.
No problem.
And the assumption that you can take a beer into somebody else's establishment, you can't do
You
that.
can't do that.
Okay?
It's
Let's just make it
not another
clear.
bar, but into a shop, yes, that's the whole point.
You're not supposed to.
You might want to check on that.
So they have signs that say Dora drinks welcome here.
Yeah.
Each,
Go ahead.
Those who sell alcohol, their items cannot be taken into another location that has a liquor license. So for instance, Kin and Kill cannot take you can't take a drink from there over to the Marion Brewery. You can, let's say, take it into Lulu's
Toy store.
If Lulu's has the sign that says welcome.
Yes.
And
It has
or
to-
they
it
can
has to be
ju-
posted.
Right, it has to be posted that it's welcome, and then they have posted not welcome. So that way the observer knows.
I'm just saying a person just can't go into any place and just carry it.
Right, right.
Okay? But that's not what I came up here for. I don't know if this is where I should do this or not, because it's rules and regulations. Earlier this year, we passed the new Marion Building Code, which to me, it's been a complete disaster. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, you guys are getting ready to get a landslide of people that's going to come in and see you. Okay? The fees are tremendous. When I have to start paying somebody $1,000 to look at 2 wire nuts, that's a problem. Okay? Mr. Powell knows that I saved the city $1,000. Okay? I had him call the state and get clarification because he has no rights to boilers. Okay? So, the fees they're so far out of whack, it is just amazing. I'm doing this project at Ken and Kill on the other side. I'm up to $4,000 and I don't even have my first permit. When I permitted everything before, it was $2,500. And I don't even have my first permit. And when you hold somebody, if he doesn't like something that's on the prints, that's going to cost you $475 to find out what he doesn't like. I think that's a little, if you're paying for a plan review, I think you should be able to find out what the plan review is. I don't think you should be held hostage for another $475 to find out what his review was. Okay? And I stood up here in front of City Council and I told you what was going to happen. And Lord and behold, it has. Okay? I have to go through adjudication right now, so that cost me $500. So I gotta go to Ashland now, because they won't honor what was there before or anything like that. So anyways, I'm just letting you know, giving you a heads up. We are putting a little council together in August to try to get some things straightened out. But what I'm up here for tonight is, it was told to me that city council and him set the prices. And I want the clarification on that before our meeting.
We did have a zoning change, I believe, that...
Did you set the fees, though?
Yeah, we voted on them. I do believe that's
I
what it
don't
was.
believe it was on the building stuff.
It was on the building stuff.
Yeah, it was zoning, wasn't it?
That's different than the building.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, so no, we didn't.
was at the end of last year.
I will tell you, though, one thing, Mr. Roush, is city council, in its wisdom, made this a one-year trial. And before this comes up for renewal, we will definitely be discussing, and we do want...
But the problem of it is, this one-year trials, it's gonna cost me $8,000 just on one building that I shouldn't be paying.
But we really can't do anything because we have a contract.
I understand that, but, you know, it's really hampered a lot of things. I know people that's just gonna wait it out.
Well, if I remember correct, because I wasn't on council when it was passed, but I was here, and I do recall that the gentleman said that he was going to, the rates would be the same as the state charged. That's what he said.
Yeah, that's...
So if that's not what he's doing, this is the first we've heard of it.
Here's the thing, he's making more money on his inspection than the guys doing the work on the whole job. Okay? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
We go over here and put a receptacle in, that's $675. I mean, it's out of hand. Set a rooftop unit, you're looking at $1,500. There's not $1,500 in the whole profit of setting a rooftop unit on a commercial building.
Yeah.
You know, in a 10-ton area. Okay? He's making more money than the guys doing all the work. I mean, that's not right. And then, you know, I had to get some clarification because he wanted to charge you 3 permits to set a rooftop unit. Okay? And I said, that's not right. Okay, it's only 1 permit. Okay, and that covers to the disconnect, to the gas cock, everything that should cover that. Okay? And he argued with me for several days, and finally I just said, listen, let's get a clarification from the state, because who's controlling him? No one. Right? He's got free reign. You have no board, which I said that from the beginning, there should have been a board set up. Okay? So he got a clarification, and now he's dropped the fees tremendously on that. But some of the others are just, so I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people in town that just are not getting them, period. It's worse now than what it was beforehand. You know, you know, I'm all for getting things inspected, okay? I'm used to it. I've been doing it my whole life, getting inspections. I got 6 inspections last week, okay? But when a normal inspection's $125 or $150 for something small, okay? And you're all of a sudden now it's $750, $850, $1,000, okay? That's not realistic.
I agree.
You know, and his response to me was, well, city council said that they really didn't want to put any rules in for replacement. Okay, so we're going to run it as the same for replacement as a completely new build. So you're paying the permits, we're paying the permits right now of a new build, the same as we go out and do a small replacement. Okay? That's a problem.
It's jacked.
It is. It's unbelievable. Okay, so if we're going to keep this, city council's got to get some rules down on how much things are going to cost. Okay, we got to rein things in. Now, should it be a little bit more expensive than state? Probably yes. Okay, should it be 5-6 times more than the state? No. Okay? And it is not easier. The whole thing of being easier is not right either. Okay? Telling me 45 days in between each revision of looking at a set of plans. Okay? I think that's a little ridiculous. Because actually state law says after 30 days, I can do anything I want to, and then you guys can't do anything. So if it's not done within 30 days, you got free reign. So you might think about that. When I'm telling you, well, I was going to take the 45 days to get this done, unless you want to pay me an extra $1,000, and then I will expedite it.
Sounds like extortion, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is extortion to the max. When you have to pay for what he doesn't like on your set of plans, when you have to pay to find out, I really take that as extortion.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Rouse, that we will take a look at it.
Well, there's a lot of hot people that, actually, I came up here because some of the other guys would probably have not been so nice.
Well, we do want to hear from them.
Well, I don't think you want to hear from them for a while. Okay? I'm just letting you know that.
So Dave, let me just ask you a question. Would you prefer to go back to the state inspections, what it was prior to us contracting this out?
Well, okay, here's the problem with contracting it out. You're a week behind now. Okay? Everything's a week behind. We're less than 24 hours behind the state. So is it more productive? No.
Okay.
Okay? Is it keeping people from doing the things that they shouldn't be doing? Absolutely not. Because you have no one here in this town, well, I shouldn't say that. I'll rephrase that. There is people in town that are trying to do their job, and your fire marshal he's trying to do his job. Okay? All right? But you don't have the state people that are in town all the time and seeing what's going on and having, what you doing over there? You don't have that now, okay? Because you got a guy that's in town, I think once a week, isn't he? Once a week, Thursdays.
As needed, as far as I know.
Yeah, but usually he's only here on Thursday. But, I mean, we just didn't think this out when we did it. I'm not against us having our own building department. I'm not, okay? But I think the businesses here in Marion are funding a lot more of it than they should be. You know what I'm saying? But, and that's another thing is how can you come with a set of plans, and the first time he reviews it is 4 hours. Okay, you make the revisions that he wants done, you give them to him, and the next time you get billed for 12 hours.
What? Wow.
If it takes me 12 hours to look at a simple plan, I'm going to quit this one. Okay? So I'm just giving you a heads up on this He probably doesn't like me very much right now. Because I brought some heat down.
And that's, if it's observed, then by all means.
Right,
that
but
should
you
be
know,
done.
I mean, you gotta have things in perspective, and some of the other guys didn't want to come up tonight because they're really, really angry. You know, so they probably would not have been cordial at the stand. I'm just letting you know that.
Well, we all have email addresses. They're welcome to send us an email if they're afraid to.
Well, I got this, something you said about that, because we sent letters in, okay? And I don't know where they went. Everybody pretty much had a state contractor's license, sent a letter in, okay? And it seemed to me like nobody listened to us, okay? So, I just hope that we can get something resolved in this meeting next month. That, from what he's telling me is, it's up to you guys to help set the rates.
If that's the case, then that's what we'll do.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Powell.
First, I want to thank Mr. Rouse for being respectful in the interactions that we have. He's very pleasant to talk to, and I know we did get at least one problem solved.
Yes.
The letters that were sent, I've never seen any letters from any
So
contractor.
I don't know where they went.
Okay, well, I apologize for that. But I will say, I did encourage him to, anybody that has a problem to you know, try to make this meeting that we're setting up for August, because I know you guys wanted a review in September. So I thought that was pretty good timing, actually. But
that meeting's not just with them, it's going to be the health department too.
Yeah.
So it's trying to get something productive done. So that, I mean, if we can, here's the thing, is I was told, okay, that it's up to us to fund this department. Okay? Well, you know what, I kind of get it, I don't think it's up to the contractors to fund this department. I just don't think that's right. And I know a lot of the guys have lost money on jobs because, and that's their fault though. It's their fault that they lost money because they didn't check with him prior to what his rates would be for replacement. They just assumed it'd be close to the states, put it in there, and they got nailed for an extra $1,000, $1,700, more than what they're used to.
No profit margin at all.
Huh?
It's absorbed like that.
Right, they
That's
make
right.
good money.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's right, I'm saying, they're probably, you're lucky they're not here, so.
Now, I know why my brother doesn't want to take on commercial jobs. He only wants to do residential.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, there's only a few of us here in this town that has a license anyways, okay? There's very few of us.
Yeah, Mike does, but.
Yeah, there's very few of us that does, but, you know, the thing of it is it's not better than what it was before. Okay, so things have to be streamlined and things have to be changed and plan reviews need to be changed. I mean, these plan review thing, when you send your money in for your plan review, I would think that would be your plan review. Okay, then you got your, you know, which is basically $1,000. Okay, for me over there. Every time I send it in, it's $1,000, $1,000. I haven't even got my first permit yet.
Jesus.
Okay? So I'm like $4,000 in the hole, and I ain't even got my first permit on the building or anything like that, and I've got to go to my adjudication, which that's $500, because I had to pay $500 to speed it up. So, yeah, it's not helping business, so.
Now, in this one, you can't pass on to the customer because you are your own
So
customer.
here's the thing though, guys, think about this. When you look at the schedule, he does not read the rules the same as we do. Okay? Because when we think, if you get a mechanical, that's going to cover you to the disconnect and to the cock. Okay? That's what the rules has always been since I could ever remember. His rules is, no, it doesn't. So you have to pay, so if you put a rooftop unit, set it on there, you gotta pay for the mechanical, you gotta pay for the plumbing one, and you gotta pay electrical one, all three. Which I got that straightened out, he knows that, I got that hammered out, we got that taken care of, but the guys that has already paid that, we're pretty high. So I'm done, that's all I can say. Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, man, I'd like to have some incidences, if they jot down what they've experienced, because I mean, that's just like,
I can show you on my phone.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, really seriously. Sure.
We need that
We
information.
need that information, yes,
Because we're gonna
exactly.
do a review in September and
You know-
decide whether we wanna keep it or not.
Well, here's the thing is I think the rates that we're being charged for what we're doing here are very, very high. Okay, because I know, you gotta realize, I work with like 10 counties, okay? Okay, and I've never seen anything like this, ever, okay? And, you know, a project, normally you're probably talking $25,000 to $3,000 for a fairly good-sized building, okay? The way things are set up now, you're talking $8,000 to $10,000. Okay, that's if it doesn't take him 12 hours every time he looks at the print. I don't know where that comes from. But one of the guys got charged 6 hours for looking at a print that didn't exist. So.
Thank you very much, I appreciate
Give you a
that.
heads up, so we need to get on that, and we're gonna be at this meeting, we'll see what we can get ironed out, and then, you know, see what go from there, but, you know, having our own building department's not a bad thing. You know, I just don't think we're getting taken care of the way we should be.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other items, matters not on the agenda? Hearing none, meeting adjourned, 8:31.
I know that. I knew it was gonna be a long night.
It's super easy. It's super easy to take care of.
USA's down 1-0. In case anybody wanted to know.
Already, huh?
USA's down 1-0.
Hey, if we lose, we lost with our best player.
Even after we cheated? Did he play?
Yeah, he's playing, I'm sure. I haven't seen him.
They overruled the red card. I know, but they still were calling for him.
They filed another appeal and they turned the.
Yeah, they turned it down.
Is Dan on this committee?
Who? Dan Carr? No?
Dan, what are you doing, man? Come out of here.
What? I thought it was finance next.
No.
What's next?
Zoning and annexation.
Level one.
Oh, thank
They
you.
just scored?
What's that?
They just scored. It was just, I was watching it back there.
That was that right? That's what it's
There you go.
Yes.
I'll be up. Those guys I'm not worried about it.
Do whatever's legal.
All right. Let's rock it, Kryger.
I didn't shut the audio off, so.
All right, just a second.
Yeah. They're playing now.
All right, guys.
They're losing.
All right. 1-1. Yeah. Good evening, the time is now 8:35. We're called to order the Marion City Council Zoning and Annexation Committee. Clerk, will you take the roll, please?
Mr. Kryger?
Here.
Mr. Rollins? Present. Mr. Barr?
Present.
And for the summary proceedings from 4/20, the special zoning meeting of 4/20/26. And do we have any revisions or corrections?
I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Clerk, if you'll take the roll for that?
Mr. Kryger?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
We have two items for new business today, or the first one being zoning for 245 St. James rezone. Clerk, if you read the...
Ordinance amending the zoning map for the city of Marion by rezoning lot number 536 in the J.H. Barnhart's first addition to the city of Marion, commonly known as 245 St. James, from an R2 general dwelling district to an R3 multifamily.
Does the committee have any questions or comments?
I don't, I'm super familiar with this property.
Okay.
And this whole process that came through city planning, but we have Evelyn here. It's a 1 acre property that was already about zoned in R2 and within an R1 district because of the size of the lot. It's a 4,000 square foot property. The applicant came with their own covenants to state what they would and would not do, which I think was helpful for city planning. And it was a 5-1 recommendation to approve from the city planning.
And just to add on to that, that was formerly a bed and breakfast. They have an easement, I believe, just for like a driveway access.
Shared driveway.
And so forth. And then the back building, which is the top of the garage, was used as an accessory service for the bed and breakfast at the time. And since the new owners have been there, they've actually fenced in the yard for better privacy for all the folks in that facility. And I don't know if anything on any reports of anything from the police or from any issues.
I'm sorry, I stepped out.
For the
St. James property, any issues?
Not that I'm aware of, but I did not, nobody asked me to investigate.
All right. Does anybody else here? I'll defer to Evelyn on that. So.
Okay, and I know you both summarized it quite well, but the applicants came to city planning mainly with regard to a kind of in compliance with the building code, and so in order for that, among other things, health and safety, it would, now that the zoning code has been changed, and now specifically lists R3 for the recovery facility, this would bring that, even though they would be previously legally non-conforming, but this would put them in the right district though. The elements that were kind of in favor is that, again, it's a quite large property, it's so it's an outlier to its own neighborhood, similarly with the size of the structure. The prior zoning in the early 1980s had also mandated, written right into the zoning ordinance, that they had deed restrictions placed on the property. And so for that reason, city planning chose to do the same thing. They were in favor of the rezoning and then added the additional covenants to clarify and based on comments from citizens and board members. And so that's the ordinance that you see kind of sums up all of the points made and that the applicant was willing to comply with.
Okay. I'd like to, when it was bed and breakfast, there was concerns with alcohol, for example, all of that. I'd like to, if that's all right with the committee, I don't know if anybody's got any more, any reference for this. I'd like to read into the record just the highlighted part here, essentially, that would be involved with what they have for their own covenants here. So I'm going to start on page 1, and I'll start, said property shall not be used for permanent multifamily dwelling, a private club, a fraternity, a sorority, or any organization serving alcoholic beverages, offices of civic, religious, and charitable organizations, nursery school, this is where it's highlighted, nursery school, day nursery, hospital, convalescence home, rooming house, or boarding house, nor redeveloped into apartments, townhouses, or other multifamily buildings. Principal structure on said property must be preserved and shall have a maximum occupancy of 12 temporary residents. Use of accessory structures shall be limited to original intended and permitted uses, office or administrative use limited to services for on-site residents only, and not be used for overnight staffing or sleeping quarters. Any operation as a recovery house or any other institutional or congregant living shall have A, paid staff, supervision, on-site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. B, no more than 6 staff members on the property at one time. C, no more than 6 vehicles on the property or parked on nearby streets, excluding contractors and maintenance workers. D, no services offered or provided to any other persons except for those residing on the property. So that, I think I wanted to read that just for clarification for everybody's benefit for what they had provided. All right, do we have any more comments from the administration on that? Okay. Anybody from the audience?
Sulu Kelly, Sulu Kelly, 365 East Farming. If I remember correctly, this property is owned by the same company that owns in the same neighborhood on that other street? No, it's not? Okay.
No, if you're referring to Capgrow and
Lighthouse.
Lighthouse.
This is
Yeah,
first,
okay,
this is
this is
first
somebody
step.
different, so
Yeah,
this
different, yeah.
is not somebody we've had a bad history with.
They came to us to
Okay,
try to be in
and I have no
compliance.
comment to make.
I just have one question. If okay?
Yeah.
Evelyn, maybe you can answer. In the briefing from Regional Planning against the request, item number 3 speaks about the rezoning issue, but it also talks about building code and fire code compliance issues. Are there fire code compliance issues specifically with this property, and is that a concern with 12 residents living there?
Not, the issue with the building code is occupancy. So if they were limited and only had 5 or less residents, if I recall correctly.
They wouldn't need fire
They are
suppression.
then under Ohio residential building code. Once they're at 6 and above, then they must follow commercial building code, multifamily code. So that's where, when the building inspector was looking at it, if he was looking at it, because I believe they presently have like 9 occupants,
Mhm.
so that put them fully under the commercial code. So they have satisfied, I know they had like pursuing sprinklers and a variety of other
Yep,
things.
they have fires,
to-
2 fire suppression systems lined
So
up.
they've been, so in a way, that's a good thing because it's far safer than it would have been if
Gotcha.
it hadn't even started this process for rezoning. But they also said, one of their criteria is that, well, you must be in compliance with the zoning. Well, again, they're kind of in that wishy-washy state of being legally non-conforming because we just changed the text last year.
Yeah.
But to get them into the right district just for posterity, and again, this, you'll see, or city planning will see, I think this month, we have a very similar request on a very tiny parcel, so you have like what to do, what versus what not to do. This is, I think, an example of when it makes sense, because the site is accommodating to all of the zoning change.
Thank you.
And it's kind of an anomaly property, especially if those structures have been built since that one was constructed.
I'll make a motion to send to council with a recommendation to approve.
I'll second.
All right. Take the roll, please.
Mr. Kreider?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
All right. All right, the next item we have is going to be for zoning for an annexation. And if you'll go ahead and read the
Resolution whereby the, sorry.
That's okay.
Resolution whereby the City of Marion agrees to provide fire protection, zoning, police protection, street maintenance, and all other ordinary city services provided within the boundaries of the City of Marion to the territory proposed for annexation to the city located south of the City of Marion containing 0.558 acres and declaring an emergency.
Anybody have any comments? I was just, is there an issue with the emergency clause? Why is that included on here?
So this is a petition to annex territory that's not currently in the City of Marion into the City of Marion. The statute, the Ohio Revised Code, requires a resolution indicating that the city is willing to provide the services ordinarily provided to a city property. So this one happens very quick. The emergency's on there because there's a short timeline. But the main ordinance will come back after the process continues to move forward, and the council will then be asked to act on an actual ordinance the next time, accepting the territory into the city. So this is just the first of two.
Do we have any comments from fire or police for that?
Fire department has a question. Do we know what Mr. Daniels intends to do with this property?
Billboard.
A billboard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We have no opposition.
It's a very narrow lot.
Yeah.
It's narrow and long. There's not much to do.
I thought there was my dumpsters, but I saw the lot. No,
It's gonna be a billboard.
It's very narrow, yeah.
Or at least with my conversations.
Yeah. Okay. All right, any other discussions? What about members of,
Amy Craig, 365 Silver Street. I guess my question is about the emergency clause. If we already have a mutual aid, I guess I'm just concerned about the overuse of emergency clauses. If we already have a mutual aid agreement with the county, why does it need an emergency clause?
I think you explained the timing issue?
So there are two different things that you're speaking in regards to. So in regards to the statutory process to annex a property outside the city, bring it inside, the city council must adopt a resolution within 30 days of filing the petition to tell the commissioners we're willing to
Right,
bring
I
it
remember
in.
from
So it's just limited to that.
Okay.
So that's why the emergency's on that, so that we can meet our timeline to have this be a lawful document going across the street, telling the commissioners, hey, they passed the first one. So it's only because the timeline is very short. It doesn't have anything to do with fire service
It's
or
a
anything.
30-day timeline though, isn't it? From the time that we receive it until the time that we...
Yeah, but if it doesn't have the emergency clause on it,
I know it goes into effect within 7 days then, but
it goes into effect 30 days later.
if we don't have the emergency
Right.
clause, with the emergency clause, it goes into effect for...
With the mayor's
7 days.
signature.
Right, but so we can't just say across the street, hey, I just don't understand. I get that we need to pass it. I know we're gonna suspend rules and everything else. But like the last situation with Dollar General, Mr. Pollock received it on a day that you weren't here, and then it didn't make it to the agenda because like you weren't here the Thursday, and then it didn't make it the Monday, and we had to get it on the agenda, and we had to pass it with an emergency clause because it had to be done 30 days after it
They
was
sent it in
received.
when we had a fifth Monday.
Okay, and so, but that was the reason we used the emergency clause on that one. So did we get this one late
No,
also?
that's why we had the special meeting.
Okay. I remember now, we had a special meeting, but it also had an emergency clause on it
Yeah.
because we needed, so I mean, if we're getting things in on time, why do we need the emergency clause? And is Josh Daniels really gonna say, hey, I don't want you to annex this land if we don't give him his emergency clause?
I think it has something to do with the way the state has written the statute, how the process has to work out.
It's within 30 days of
Yeah,
receiving it, I thought.
they've given us 30 days
Mhm.
from the time the commissioners send it across the street. Depending on when it comes in, traditionally ordinances go 3 readings, that could take 6 weeks. But without the emergency clause, once
It
it's,
would take another 30 days.
yeah, once it's voted on, even if we had a special council meeting tonight and voted on it and didn't have the emergency clause and didn't have 2/3 of the council approve it, it would take 30 days to approve, and we're beyond the deadline.
I guess okay, so the Dollar General thing, I sent it to the state of Ohio and asked about the use of the emergency clause, and they decided that was worth something worth looking into. So if they were willing to look into that, I'm trying to figure out why I shouldn't send them this emergency clause as well.
Send it to them.
Okay.
Send it to
I will. I will.
Do we have any other folks that want to speak? All right.
I'll make a motion to send this to council.
Second?
I'll second.
All right.
Is that with the recommendation?
Yeah, I was going to say.
I did, no recommendation.
No, yeah. All right, clerk, if you take the roll, please.
Mr. Kreider?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
All right. And lastly, do we have anything on matters not on the agenda for zoning and annexation that need to be brought forth? Okay, hearing nothing, we are adjourned, 8:21.
There's some free paper clips.
Thank you, sir.
What's the score?
Oh,
Now get out of my chair.
I'm assuming you're moving down.
yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom first.
I'm gonna start asking for an escort to go to the parking lot because I'm starting to feel uncomfortable. The last committee meeting, these people were out there screaming that I wasn't gonna take their rights away from them. And it's just a matter of time before they do something. So I'm gonna talk to the chief and say I want an escort out to the parking lot after meetings.
I felt that red cut inside myself.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm just,
Let me go get it next door, I'll bring it home.
but
Chief,
stick to that.
you need more lettuce?
I folded it, but otherwise. And I know there's been there.
Thanks, Chief.
You need longer arms, Chelsea. Thank you, Val.
You got 4 here.
I didn't know if Paul.
Yeah, Matt will need one.
And then maybe he stepped out for the restroom or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
I actually just think he wants the city to make it more valuable, he appreciates the fire service. That's what I was thinking.
We'd have somebody throw it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, that was in the city, so this is a little surprising.
These are for the rest of the council members.
Members, I've only got one. That's the only one. I'll have Matt send in the boxes.
We have lots.
Oh, yeah.
We have the same. It's still too
Mr. Rollins, I just want to note the auditor's not here and her coverage is like very difficult. Okay.
Oh, yeah, there was I think they were named.
And that,
Yes.
No, names.
What's this? The lady's name?
My brother-in-law's really into it, so I'm going to teach him how to explain to me.
Debbie Good.
Watching a lot.
Debbie Good.
It's been interesting.
Good.
She knew anyone.
Gentlemen, ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
8:54, we'll call Finance Committee to order. Clerk, could you please take roll?
Mr. Rollins.
Present.
Mr. R. Smith. Here. Mr. Clark.
Here.
Right, we do have minutes from the 15th. I trust that you've had a chance to review those.
I don't think I found
I
anything.
have, and I make a motion that we accept.
I will second.
Clerk, I got a first and a second to accept. Can you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins.
Yes.
Mr. R. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
All right, old business, in the interest of everyone's time, we're going to breeze through this, so I'm going to ask just very generally to the administration, has there been any changes to the plan that was sent into the state? Have we heard back from them? First question.
We have not heard back, other than it may be toward the end of July before we, because of vacations that are going on there now, and
Okay. Where are we at with the reconciliation process?
want me to go, or do you? I'll go for it. I'll make it very, very brief. So 2022 has all been sent to Clark Schaefer Hackett. It's been completed. The reconciliation's been completed. There was a lot of stuff Chelsea had to do, then in turn to send it to Clark Schaefer Hackett. And prior conversations with Clark Schaefer Hackett, they hope to have that done by the end of July.
Okay.
So we're hopeful of that. We've talked with Ron, who is doing the reconciliation for 2023. He started on that the day after he got 2022 done, and also hopes to have that done within a week to 2 weeks at the most to have 23 done. So we will keep you posted there. In addition to that, there have been no any more IRS complaints or findings.
Oh, you were going right?
And I
You
knew
wanted to get ahead of it.
I knew what was coming.
I thought I was going to be efficient. No, sir, you are.
We have not had anything additional. I think that we did receive transcripts that Vidya had asked for. I don't know that those have been reviewed yet, but she did get them, I think, like last week, late sometime.
Okay, great. Any questions from committee?
Not from me.
Any questions regarding those items from citizens? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to new business tonight. There are a few items of new business. First one, Justice Memorial Grant. Clerk, could you please read?
Ordinance to authorize the Safety Service Director to apply for and administer the 2025 Edward Ryan Memorial Justice Assistant Grant Program through the Office of the Criminal Justice Services and declaring an emergency.
All right, this did come to us from Zoe, but it looks like you've got some information to share, so please do.
Radios.
Okay. Enough said. This is a $150,000 grant with a 25% match. Is there any thing that we can file for in terms of getting that match waived?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make a motion to send this on to council with no recommendation at this point, so we can get some clarification on that.
Second.
Given that, clerk, I've got a first and a second. Could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
All right, that will go on to council. If you could get us some answers on that. Thank you. Next item, YMCA scholarship appropriation. Clerk, could you please read?
Ordinance appropriating monies received and accepted by previous ordinance in regards to the scholarships to be used by participants in the YMCA program operated by the Marion City's Recreation Center.
Okay, this comes to us also from Zoe.
I can answer this one.
Sure, please.
Apparently, there was a clause missing out of the previous acceptance of scholarships, and this permits the city to appropriate the funds that we accepted and spend them on the appropriate scholarships.
Just for clarification's sake, this is this the donation from Poet?
Yes.
Okay. I will once again have to recuse myself, so this is where I will bow out of this conversation.
I'll make a motion that we send it on to council with a 2-0 recommendation to approve.
And I'll make that 2-0 second.
Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins,
Abstain?
Mr. R. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
And that was to approve, right?
Yes. Next item is water pollution loan. Clerk, could you please read?
You're up, Mr. Ice. Resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to apply for, accept, and enter into a water pollution control loan, WPCLF agreement on behalf of the City of Marion, Ohio, for planning, designing, and/or construction of wastewater facilities and declaring an emergency.
All right, Mr. Ice.
Matt Ice, Water Pollution Control Superintendent. A few months ago, I came to you all to get permission to enter into contract with Hazen & Sawyer to complete this work. This is a zero money loan. We had thought that ordinance covered entering into contract and letting the service director sign all the documentation according to the loan provider. They said that didn't cover it, so we had to come back and do this. Again, this is a zero, we're not borrowing any money, everything is forgiven, but it'll be a pass-through, so we'll have to encumber the money and then pay them as we get.
This is for the leachate facility?
Yeah, it's the leachate
Okay.
facility.
Questions from committee?
No.
Any questions from citizens? I will make a motion, we send this to council with a recommendation to approve.
I will second.
Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes?
Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
All right, next item of business. Tax budget. Clerk, could you please read?
Resolution approving and adopting the tax budget of the City of Marion for the year ending December 31st, 2027.
All right, so this is the budget that is passed, I believe annually, that gets sent across the street, that essentially cements our share of the property taxes, whatever that may be. This is I would say a temporary budget in nature, more or less to show that yes, we do have expenditures that require the funds from the county and the property taxes. A few things I do want to note. We are extremely late on this. Do you know, when is this due across the street?
It's due on the 20th.
The 20th? So we basically have to pass this, and then it has to go to council, and it has to have the rules suspended and passed immediately, yes?
And the public hearing.
Yep.
The public hearing would be the following Monday, the 13th.
13th, yeah.
And then we've already had the notice posted within the advertising that's supposed to be done.
Can we ask what the delay was? I mean, this is pretty standard stuff.
I'll just say I didn't have my timeline together of when it was due. So
Okay.
typically a different office handles it, but with everything going on, I wanted to take responsibility of it and get it done.
Gotcha. You have something to say?
Yes and no. Typically, this is handled within the auditor's office, and with the recent change, and not just taking carte blanche for what was given last year. We weren't going to do that, so Chelsea took ownership of it this year and went way above and beyond to try to get some actual figures to them across the street that really mean something, and so that's what, with all of the other stuff going on and then trying to get this done in a timely fashion, it ended up being later than what we had hoped for.
Questions from committee?
Yes, I have one question. On the second whereas, it says that public notice been given by publication of the notice of public hearing. Should they be hearing?
I'll say yes.
Okay.
Was that
That's
a
a question.
Okay.
No, notice of public hereon for at least 10 days prior to the date of such public hearing. The public has been hereon given notice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I will go with that.
Should be
Anything from citizens regarding this tax budget? Come on forward.
Sean Barr, First Ward, City Council. I'll say it, the deputy auditor, who's no longer with us, should have had this done. Thank you, Ms. Tryon, for jumping on it and getting this done properly. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Citizens have any? Seeing none, I will make a motion to send this to council with a recommendation to approve.
I'll second.
Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Arshmith?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Oh, yes.
Looks like one final item of business, insurance refunds. Clerk, could you please read?
Ordinance making additional appropriations to the insurance proceeds fund for the year ending December 31st, 2026.
And this also comes to us from Ms. Triano. Some insight on this one?
I'm sorry.
Do you have any insight on this one?
This is from, I think it's a combination of, I can have on paper with me, but 763 Silver Street and 928 Henry Street. Properties that had
Fire damage.
insurance, since the
Gotcha.
funds for those to be held until completion of inspection by the zoning inspector. Yeah.
Okay. Questions from committee?
None from me, and I'll make a motion that we send this on to council with a recommendation to approve.
I'll second.
I've got a first and a second. Anything from citizens on this one? Seeing none, clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Arshmith?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
All right. That concludes new business. Are there any matters to come before Finance Committee that were not on the agenda? Yeah. Seeing none, we are adjourned.
At this rate, I'm not going to have to work Friday.
Oh, I'm going to call you.
At this rate, I don't have to